All right, today we're going to talk about conflict management, how to handle conflict like an alpha. All right, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Thanks for all the support, by the way. A lot of you guys have been killing it with the support, and I appreciate it. Get on my no ad, no spam email list as well. Links in the description. There's topics I can't talk about on YouTube due to censorship, so we'll talk about it on my list. Okay, let's get into conflict management. So we're in civilized society. This is related to a work conflict that came up. Someone had a question about. So being in a civilized society, we can't just go caveman on people, right? We have to handle things in a civilized fashion. Now, in this case, this example, somebody from another area, we could say department, confronted this person in an aggressive and inappropriate manner. Okay, and so he was confrontational, he was aggressive, he was inappropriate, he was unprofessional. So how do you handle that, right? Well, when someone approaches you in an aggressive and in an inappropriate manner, but with aggression, when someone approaches you with aggression, it can immediately trigger a threat response, okay? So you're immediate, if you're not ready for it, especially whatever, you're just working and somebody starts screaming at your face or whatever, starts acting aggressive towards you, it triggers a threat response. Now, your ingrained way of handling a threat, okay, your instinctual way of handling a threat is to respond one of four ways. And those ways are to fight, okay, to flee, so it's your fight or flight, right? A third way is to freeze, okay, you possum or freeze, and a fourth way would be to posture, okay? Posture is like chest beating. Think of, an ape chest beating and making a lot of noise to try to intimidate the other person. All right, so those are your four potential threat responses. You can look into that in studies of aggression and threat responses. A good comprehensive book for that would be anything by David Grossman, On Combat or On Killing. All right, so that is your four potential responses. Now, you're in a workplace environment, so you're not going to just like smoke this dude in the face. Not unless he's presenting a physical threat to you. You're not going to fight this guy in your work, right? That's not productive, and that's going to get you thrown in jail or get you fired or get you into problems. So that's not what you can do in a civilized society. So fight is off the table now as a response. So is getting up and running out of the room. Although fleeing sometimes can be appropriate in the sense that walking away from a conflict, can be an appropriate response, and it doesn't make you less manly to do that because your fight response is off the table. It's not about being able to kick the crap out of the guy or not. It's about managing this conflict, and taking yourself out of it is sometimes the most productive way of handling it. But you're not going to just run away, chances are. You know what I'm saying? So fight and flight in civilized society is not usually, available to us for a threat response, for a response to a conflict, we'll say. So that leaves us with to freeze or to posture. And that's usually what you'll see. So to posture would be somebody gets aggressive, they're yelling, and you get aggressive back, you're yelling back, and now you're calling them names, whatever, you know what I mean? What you're doing is you're trying to say, you're not going to out-aggress me, I'm going to out-aggress you, but no one's trying to kill each other, right? No one is crossing that threshold. It's all chest beating. And who can beat the chest the hardest and the loudest? That's usually not the most productive way, though, of handling it, because what you're demonstrating is that this other person is an actual threat to you. They're not really, though, are they? They're not really a threat. Unless they're trying to hurt you and actually get physical, in which case you fight them, okay? They're not a threat, like in that sense. So they're not actually a threat, but you're validating that they are a threat and that they are worth something by getting into a posturing, thing with them. And sometimes posturing can be appropriate, but usually, especially like in a workplace conflict, that's not going to work. And in civilized society, that's not going to work, because civilized society doesn't like alpha types or masculinity. Okay, so if you out aggress that person, you'll find yourself being the one to get reprimanded, even though this person approached you, or being the one to, have to deal with that fallout, and it'll look badly or poorly on you, which is not the results you want, right? So which leaves this fourth option then, which is to freeze, okay, which then makes you look like a bitch, all right? So when you freeze, right, that's when you're taken by surprise, you can't fight, so it's like you're frozen. You literally cannot articulate words, you can't, you know what I mean? Like, you can't put two sentences together to try to deal with this person. You take, and your adrenaline's going and you're pissed, but you can't, or you might not even be pissed, just might be adrenaline, and you're basically shut down. This typically happens too if somebody is in a position to harm you, right? So like a supervisor or somebody, you're in a conflict with somebody that could actually fire you or cause you harm, and so you freeze then as a coping mechanism, which then only sends the signal that this person can continue to conflict with you in this manner. Does that make sense? So this person can continue to act this way or do it in other occasions because there was no downside or negative consequence for them for doing that. In fact, they got what they wanted, which was your compliance. Freezing is essentially compliance in a sense. Even if you're just getting yelled at and just taking it, it's compliance. And so that never feels good, and you basically are outmaneuvered at that point when this aggressor is approaching you. So none of these answers that are natural responses are really good responses in the civilized world. So what can we do about this? What we can do, and this is why state management and mindset management and emotional self-control is so important. And so you can take yourself out of the mindset or mode of there being a threat at all right? And so what you want to do that, step one, is do what's called a tactical pause. So if somebody is yelling at you, screaming at you, but there is no physical threat, you can't fight them, you're not going to do any of the other those four responses. So what you're going to do then instead is you're going to tactically pause, and you're going to take a deep breath and buy yourself a little bit of space. This person could still be yelling at you, or there could be silence between you two, or whatever. But it needs like a couple of seconds. This person's yelling at you, just kind of look at them, eye contact. Okay, so I paused. That pause is me stopping myself from reacting. Because if I allow myself to react, I'm going to react in one of those four ways. And if I punch this guy in the face, or posture, or freeze, or run out of the room, none of those are going to be good. Okay? So I tactically pause, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take control of the conversation through my tone of voice and through only accepting, the behavior that I'm willing to accept in a discussion with me. So let's say they're my supervisor, they're in my face, they're behaving inappropriately. They're whatever, yelling and trying to let me have it. So I tactically pause, I just eye contact, I gotta listen to what they're saying, but I'm not really. I'm waiting for an opportunity here, and then they maybe ask a question, or but it's an aggressive question, or they pause. I might look at them and say, okay, all right, that's not gonna work for me. You need to turn around, walk out of here, and try again later. They might get more mad. What? Do this with your hand. Learn to do this, somebody. You're not going to talk to me like that. We're not going to get anywhere with you talking to me like that. So you need to step out, come back later, and we can talk about this like adults. You're kind of treating them like you would treat a woman who's out of control. But I'll say, if someone's acting like a bitch, you treat them like a bitch. Okay? I don't care if it is the president, CEO of your company. I don't care who it is. You have to people will only treat you the way that you'll allow yourself to be treated. And people will respect you more at the end of the day when you stand up for yourself. And this is how, but you can't stand up for yourself by punching the guy or yelling back, or, you know what I'm saying? Because that's not going to be productive. So this puts you in control and in an alpha frame. Because what you're saying is, with your behaviors, you're not a threat to me, and I'm not going to accept or put up with this kind of behavior towards me. If you want communication with me and to get to some sort of conclusion, you need to change your attitude and tone with me, and that's it. You know what I mean? And that is what you do. So you got to take yourself out of the threat. Send the message that you are no threat to me. And it does, because are they? They're really not. Even if they hold your employment hostage and can fire you, okay, what are you going to fire me for not allowing you to be abusive to me in the workplace? They're going to fire you for that. Let them try it. Let them do it. You know, you can also take them to court too, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? But don't be beholden to any man, any income, anything, all right, where you're going to allow yourself to be degraded or disrespected. Anyone. Do not ever allow yourself to be disrespected, okay? Because if you allow yourself to be disrespected, what you're saying to the world is that I am not valuable enough to be treated to a certain standard. And if you don't see yourself as valuable enough to be treated with respect, then other people will not see you as valuable either. That's including women, and that's including people in the workplace, anybody else. So you have to command respect. And if people are unwilling to act that way towards you, you take the leadership, even if you're a subordinate, and you force their hand, because you're not going to have a productive conversation with them until they can come at you with a tone of respect instead of aggression. Okay, and so you accept. It's just like anything, just like dealing with anybody in your life. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to accept communicating with somebody who's going to behave disrespectfully towards you. And so that's how you set that frame up. You could have been totally wrong. Let's say you made the mistake, you're wrong. Okay, now sometimes you need an ass chewing. Don't be thin-skinned. And if you deserve an ass chewing because you screwed up, sometimes just take the ass chewing and just go, it's like a military thing. Hey, roger that. I effed up. My bad. I'll fix it. Okay, that's commanding respect also in a different way. But you may have deserved the ass chewing. That's one thing. It's one thing just getting your ass chewed. But if it is not an ass chewing, if it's just a blatant disrespect and disregard for you as a person, and they're coming at you aggressively in a way that's inappropriate, you don't have to respect that, even if you did something wrong. So that's where you say, like, listen, I'm going to let you try again when you've calmed down, but we're not having this conversation right now. And then when they come back and have the conversation, or if they calm themselves down right there, whatever it may be, then you can say, you know what, that was my bad. You're right. I'll fix it and take ownership. And that's okay. But see, what you're doing is you're conditioning these people to treat you a certain way. And you're commanding respect. And this is what you need to do. You need to do this in your life in general, whether it's with your employers in a workplace, with peers, with your women in your life, with family, with everybody. You don't need to accept bad behavior. And anyone in your relationships with you or whatever, I don't care who it is, I don't care, if you grew up this way and your parents were like that or whatever, you don't have to respect it as an adult male, or adult female for that matter. You don't have to. Okay, and don't do it. Don't let anybody shame you into thinking you have to sit there and take a bunch of toxic crap from anybody, because you don't have to. All right, so that's some conflict management tools. Hopefully that will help you. That's how you handle conflict like an alpha in this day and age. You can't club them over the head with, a stick. Okay, we're not in caveman times, so we have to have another means and ways of handling this conflict, and that is how you do it. Thanks again for the support.